so hot. I don't think the crap teams of football are going to be in this conversation either. One, I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to go like, oh, yeah, I'll go to the Jets. Woo, so hot.
Well, he does want to go to the Jets. That was the report that came from Armando Salguero over the weekend of the Miami Herald, that the first choice right now for Deshaun Watson is the New York Jets because of the presence of Robert Saleh as the head coach. The same Robert Saleh that Watson recommended the Texans interview, and they completely ignored him. The only team that had a head coaching vacancy in this cycle that didn't interview Robert Saleh was the Houston Texans.
Right.
So, choice one, Jets, despite our opinions of a week ago. And
that doesn't mean the Jets want
like,
them. We haven't heard that yet. We just hear Deshaun that favors
no.
them.
But you know what? He's playing it well because Jets won, Dolphins too. So, hey, Jets, if you don't want me, I'll just go to another team in your division. And maybe number 3 is the Patriots. Who knows? But, look, this is not getting any better. Mort reported over the weekend that Watson wants out regardless of who they hire to be their head coach. There's a sense they're trying to hire someone who will placate Deshaun Watson. The report from the weekend was it doesn't matter. Now, here's the thing I'm waiting for, and we haven't heard it yet. And I mentioned this last week on our pregame show before the Ravens-Bills playoff game. I've written about it a couple of times. He's yet to say the magic words. He's yet to say, trade me. He knows that once he says, trade me, there's no turning back. So, ipso facto, whatever that means, it sounds good. It's Latin, I think. He hasn't crossed the bridge yet.
Right.
He's on it, right? He's halfway.
Very close to the other side, yes.
He's halfway,
right,
but he still can turn around. And until he says trade me, if he isn't saying trade me because he knows that's a point of no return, that means he's not past the point of no return yet.
Yeah, yes, agreed. I mean, he has to kind of hedge his bet a little that way, right? But we know at the same time, people representing him and everything like that, and maybe even the Houston Texans at this point now, they're starting to call and get a feel. So he's going to have a feel of what's there to be had or not to be had before he ever has to even make that statement, right? I mean, at least that's the way it seems to me. So I'm sure they're doing their due diligence until that point, until they absolutely have to. Obviously, the guy had a liking to Robert Saleh. I get it. Listen, I mean, you know, he was out there at the 49ers. He's got great energy. You could say what you want. You know, it shows. He's easy to want to play for, definitely. What I just question with the Jets and Dolphins thing, or just the Jets things in general, I just want to go, you know, listen, it's New York. It's the Jets. There is nowhere to go but up. I understand that. Everything about that. Cool. But, man, like, come to the Jets and, like, trade away the first and second round pick for the next 2 years and lose Quinn?
But they have two.
I know.
They have two.
I know,
right?
But they need a lot. I mean, they were, you know, up there as the worst team in football until the last 3 weeks. That's where I don't know if I would love that if I'm Watson.
But let's think about it.
Yeah.
Would you have let me try something here, and this wasn't planned, so I don't know how it's going to go. Let me ask you this. Would you trade straight up the second overall pick for Deshaun Watson? Would you do that if you were the Jets?
Probably, yes, I would.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you, if you were the Jets, if the Texans said that's not good enough, if you were the Jets and you still had Jamal Adams on the roster and you know everything there is to know about Jamal Adams and what he wants and, you know, he's not happy, he's depressed because you're losing, all the stuff we've heard all year. If Jamal Adams hadn't been traded yet, would you trade the second overall pick plus Jamal Adams to get Deshaun Watson?
Well, listen, like you're saying, if I'm running,
knowing that he wants out, knowing everything they knew last year,
apples to apples, I would do it. If I was running the Jets, I don't know if I would do any of this. I'm not, but yes, but I hear
my
you.
Point
okay.
is this. My
right.
point is this.
Right.
What they got for Jamal Adams was 2 first-round picks.
Yes.
So if you think of it that way, we're using our second overall pick in the draft to get Deshaun Watson, and we're throwing in Jamal Adams, a guy who didn't want to be here anyway, because we're giving up the 2 first-round picks that we got for Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
Look. It takes some suspension of disbelief.
It's going to take 3 first-round picks, though.
But that's how you get there. But that's how you justify it. I remember when the Vikings gave up a lot to get Jared Allen from the Chiefs, a 1 and a 3, And it was explained to me at the time, well, we look at it this way. Jared Allen's our first-round pick. We'll take it. And we're using a third-round pick to ensure that our first-round pick is a pretty damn good player. So that's how people need to quit thinking of draft picks as lottery tickets and think about them as players. If you can parlay the second overall pick in the draft plus a guy who didn't want to be there anyway and you were going to have to move into Deshaun Watson, it's easier to justify
it is,
than to say we're giving up 3 first-round picks for the guy.
Right, but I mean that's what just, the current market, things we've seen over the last few years, right? Jalen Ramsey, Khalil Mack, who else am I missing, Mike, with big-time trades? The ones that we've seen, Jamal Adams, you just mentioned him, 2 first-round picks. I mean, you got to think Deshaun Watson's getting 3 first-round picks. This is a proven commodity top 5 quarterback in football. End of conversation. So 3 first-round picks and then some, maybe, I would imagine. And that's where I start to worry if I'm a team that's not really that well built to begin with and needs a bunch of offensive linemen, and we need a running back, and we need receivers, and we need a DB. And, man, we need middle linebackers. And, oh, my gosh, we have no pass rushers. That's where I understand Watson wanting to come here, but it's just, man, it's not the greatest support system.
Couple of things.
Yeah.
Number one, the Jets haven't had a franchise quarterback since Joe Namath, right? And they haven't. I mean, Sam Darnold.
Ken O'Brien was probably the closest thing.
Franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I'm just saying closest thing. But go ahead. Yeah.
Come on.
Right.
But not a franchise quarterback.
Right.
They haven't had one since Joe Namath. I mean, Chad Pennington, you could say, if you squint a little bit, maybe franchise quarterback, but at times. But no. But it was – and Brett Favre for, 8 games.
Right.
They want a year in and year out answer at the position. That's what they want. That's why they traded up to get Sam Darnold a few years ago. And if you're not sold on Sam Darnold, look, that's a threshold question. What does Robert Saleh think about Sam Darnold?
Right.
What does Woody Johnson say now that he's back? Let's not underestimate the potential impact of Woody Johnson being back and running the team again. But if you want that franchise guy, you've got the second overall pick. If you're thinking about using the second overall pick on a quarterback, wouldn't you rather get somebody who has shown he can do it? Because what if you draft Justin Fields and he stinks?
Sure.
You don't know. Just because all these younger guys have come in and played well doesn't mean they're all going to play well.
No, you're right. You don't. At the baseline where I like the Jets and Robert Saleh, I like Deshaun Watson, I want to say to the Jets, I feel like I've seen enough from Sam Darnold to say you can make it work. He's good enough. He needs a little help. He needs help. That's the biggest thing. And Deshaun Watson, I'm a huge fan, just like you are. I want to tell him, don't go there. They need to be rebuilt. And to get you're going to really hinder their rebuilding process because they're going to have to trade away a boatload of assets to get you. So that's where I don't love it. And I know we've made that, I know you wrote an article about it last week, I believe, and we've talked about it. If I'm the Jets a little bit, I am thinking about the Ryan Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins in that situation. Again, I know Sam Darnold hasn't looked like the 3rd pick of the draft, but they've done absolutely nothing to support him. All those other quarterbacks that were drafted in that first round, minus Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield, they went all in on giving him talent. I mean, all in. They went all in. Josh Allen, we saw last year. They started to go all in on him too. Lamar Jackson, maybe not receivers and things like that, but they've gone all in and formulating an offense that fits him and making it work for him. Sam Darnold didn't get any of that luxury, and that's where I just think it's an interesting conversation.
But still, you bring in a guy who is a proven commodity, who can play the quarterback position at a ridiculously high level, who can attract free agents to town.
Definitely would.
Changes a culture. They're trying to change a culture there with the New York Jets. And Robert Saleh helps change that culture. Look,
So you're in favor, is what you're saying. That you think the Jets should make the play.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you're talking about the assets that they're burning that could be devoted to making the team better. What the hell have they done with the assets that they've used that weren't traded away? So, it's not all that hard. And I know that Joe Douglas, the GM of the team, is trying to build from the inside out.
Right.
And you could argue you need better linemen on both sides of the ball before you address the quarterback position. But the quarterback position is so critical. At some point, fans are going to be back. And that's one thing the Jets have struggled with since they opened MetLife Stadium, selling the tickets, selling the PSLs. They haven't been able to capture that magic, and they're always in competition with Giants and their fans. And you get Deshaun Watson, you've got the best quarterback in town right out of the gates.
Yeah.
There's a huge gap between him and Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones has a ceiling he may or may not get to, but Watson was Patrick Mahomes a year before Patrick Mahomes, right? Watson was the guy who played as a rookie, who was awesome as a rookie before he tore his ACL.
Right.
And I think has been struggling in the shadow of Patrick Mahomes because he doesn't have Travis Kelce. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill. He doesn't have that offensive line. He doesn't have that defense. And that's one of the reasons why fundamentally I think Watson wants out. He looks at Mahomes. He looks at Josh Allen. He looks at these other quarterbacks and he says, I just want a little bit of what they've got.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't disagree in any way there. I don't. It hasn't been a great defense in Houston the last few years. They haven't been able to run the ball. We know we talked about pass protection issues really the 2 to 3 years before this season. It's been an uphill struggle, let alone, they fired Billy O'Brien, who was his guy and, of course, was there to draft him and the guy that kind of tutored him. And now it's like, whoa, what the hell's going on in this organization? And I don't know where we're going or what's being done. And I don't know some of these new people here that are running it. And he doesn't like it. And I get it. And I think if I'm sitting there and I'm him, I wouldn't want to be there either.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit and wait and hope that maybe it's going to turn around. But through 4 seasons, you've probably seen enough to know that it's not going in a good direction. I've seen people say, well, why did he take the contract down? Well, they're going to dangle that money. You're not going to say no to it. You deal with the financial ramifications later if you decide you want out. Right. But you're not going to say no to generational wealth, ever.
No, and of course not. And, why would he take the contract? Why? Because, I don't know. It gives him power. It gives him power to be the leader of the football team. The no trade cause, everything like that is going to all help him kind of steer the ship the way he wants to steer it as far as the trade conversation and all of those type of things. So he signed the contract with the best intentions. I mean, he didn't sign the contract thinking like, wow, here we go, Deshaun Watson, and then he wrote P.S. underneath it, I'm going to screw you guys in a year and a half. No, he was went into
or
this.
Sooner.
Right, or sooner. He went into this with thinking like, I want to build something, and of course, it's all fallen apart ever since that moment, really.
And that's what happened. The GM/head coach gets fired. Jack Easterby does the power play. The reports are out there. They're rampant about the way he's trying to take over the team. It's plunged into dysfunction. What a shock. You put a grossly unfit guy in charge of the team, and the team becomes dysfunctional. Who would have ever guessed that something like that would happen when someone grossly unfit is in charge of anything? But I digress, or I don't. But now he's at a point where he's trying to figure out what the hell's going to happen.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.